Hey everyone, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. We have a lot to get to, and first, red wave rising. That is the focus of tonight's Angle. Oh, have you checked this out? The bad news keeps rolling in for Biden and the Democrats. It's so sad. A New York Times poll has Trump edging Biden 45 to 44 among likely voters, and that's the key metric. Now, remember, this is even with Biden's horror show economy. A 1-point lead for the former president is stunning. Now, think of the near nonstop negative coverage Trump's given by the regime media. So I'm thinking to myself today, imagine what this poll might look like if the press were even a smidge fair. And other New York Times polling data spells doom for the Democrats as well. In the generic ballot, Republicans now hold a 4-point lead over Democrats. That's a 5-point swing toward the GOP since September. It's devastating. And perhaps most significant, there's a lot of significant stuff in this poll, the biggest shift came from women who identified as independent voters. In September, they favored Democrats by 14 points. Now, independent women backed Republicans by 18 points. I thought that was a typo, but it's not. And on top of that, almost 2/3 of Americans believe we're going in the wrong direction, 64%. Now, at this point, I think it's good to remember where things looked back in June and July. That was after the court overturned Roe, and liberals were really hopeful, even predicting that the voters would turn away from the GOP.
When abortion rights are on the ballot, Republicans are the party of extreme.
Well, Democrats, meantime, hope the fight over abortion will take center stage during midterm elections later this year.
Republicans continue to lose ground in white-collar suburbs, and abortion is a big part of that. It's helping Democrats.
I think Dobbs' decision is going to do more to get people out to vote.
Really clear. That's why you're a former. Now, we didn't fall for any of that. Voters have signaled that their number one concern is the economy. And, well, wait, where does abortion fall? According to Pew, it's the 8th most important priority behind things like education, safety, and Supreme Court appointments. And yes, the Angle was correct. Today, these are where the issues rank among likely voters. The economy and inflation combined add up to about 44%. Abortion? It's now down to 5%. It was 8% before. And despite the millions of dollars poured into campaign ads coast to coast, this is accusing Republicans, of course, of turning back the clock on women's health care, only 8% of likely Democratic voters said abortion was their top concern. 8%. And with economic concerns weighing most heavily on the minds of voters, you have to ask, which party do the voters think is better equipped at the money thing? Well, Republicans by a big margin. Now, with the numbers looking this grim for the party of Biden, Pelosi and AOC, all of them combined, what can they do at this point to turn things around? Well, they look for a rescue operation for the guy they still consider their only real president, and they hope he can help change the subject.
They increasingly are willing to subvert basic democratic procedures, right? Like, let's count votes. Let's make sure that people are allowed to vote. Let's make sure that whoever gets the most votes has the most seats, and that if they get the most votes in Congress, that you can pass laws, right? Basic stuff like that they don't increasingly seem to believe in. And it's a reminder that democracy is fragile. You have to fight for it, and this midterm election, I think, is going to be a moment in which that battle has to be joined.
Oh, wait, is he over? Oh, my gosh, he sounds like he was boring himself in that recitation. But here's the problem for Mr. Martha's Vineyard. Hope and change is now hopeless and pocket change. And speaking of desperate, that brings us to
when you think about the Inflation Reduction Act. And what Republicans want to do is that they want to repeal that very historic piece of legislation that is also going to lower energy costs. Republicans are actually going to make things worse, and Democrats want to do the opposite and make things a little easier.
I think think she's gotten better at reading, frankly. Joining me now is Stephen Miller, former senior advisor to President Trump, founder of America First Legal. Stephen, bringing out Obama, the lies from KJP, is any of that going to work given where these numbers are? That was shocking. 18% of likely independent women now swinging the other way to Republicans.
That New York Times Siena poll is just a hammer blow to Democrat hopes in 3 weeks from now. And the movement of women voters in particular, as you pointed out, I've never seen that much movement in so short a time.
18% plus for the GOP among them.
Complete reversal of fortune. What that tells me is that Republican messaging on three core issues, crime, immigration, and inflation, is bringing women voters into the GOP tent, which spells a death knell for the Democratic Party in 3 weeks from now.
Well, Obama, back to him being back to the rescue, I think he was trying to have kind of a Sister Soldier light moment. Let's watch this.
Not being a buzzkill, right?
That's a lesson for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and sometimes Democrats are, right? It's like, sometimes people just want to not feel as if they are walking on eggshells, and they want some acknowledgement that life is messy and that all of us, at any given moment, can, say things the wrong way, make mistakes.
Talking about cancel culture there, he's a little rusty, don't you sound? A little meandering and a very oblique reference to cancel culture. What does that get him?
He's clearly out of practice, but I think what he's actually trying to do is he knows that Biden is in for a shellacking in just 22 days from now. And so I think he's actually trying to establish some distance between himself and the current Democratic Party brand. And to your core question, is any of this going to work? Trotting out Obama, trotting out KJP, trying desperately to change the subject to anything at all? It won't work because, to use a common expression, they have a reality problem. The border is open. Crime is out of control. Inflation is at a 40-year high. As long as Republicans stay relentlessly on those points, they will win.
And KJP was also asked about why candidates aren't wild about the prospect of campaigning with Joe Biden.
The president has been traveling nonstop, and he's going to continue to be on the road nonstop. He's going to go where he is needed the most. At this time, we don't have any additional travel to lay out for you.
Oh, that was real reading time with KJP. I mean, it's embarrassing at this point. I mean, they just can't. He's kryptonite. You can't.
Well, first of all, you'd think by now, to use a theater term, she'd be off book. It's astonishing that months now into the job, she can answer a simple question without looking down whatever an intern prepared for her. And the fact that they don't have an answer to that question, which they would know is coming, just shows that this is a White House in complete disarray.
I'd never think I would say this, but I miss Jen Psaki. All right, Stephen, great to see you tonight, as always.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.